morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this morning's seminar. And it involves the 2017 cycle for Finger Lakes Community Arts Grants, which is the Decentralization Program for New York State Council on the Arts. And you all are representing the 5 counties that are in our region. And what we're going to be doing this morning is walking through the process. Several of you have either been in my seat or you've applied for grants before. Maybe it's been a while, or maybe this is your first time and you want to kind of see what it's all about. So I have been here since June. So this is my first cycle, but I'm very excited about it. It's a lot of fun and I'm learning a lot. And by way of introduction, my name is Ginny Kent and I work at the Cayuga County Chamber of Commerce, and I run the Leadership Cayuga program for the Chamber. I run the Finger Lakes Arts Information, I've been working on this one, so I can't remember the name of the other one, Grants Information Center. And that's located right here in this building. So any of you who are looking for money can come here, and I have another hat I wear, and it helps you learn how to access a database. It has over 140,000 private foundations and charitable giving programs. Through our IP address, we're a member of the Foundation Center. It's based in New York City. And this is an opportunity for anybody from any place to come in. Once you've had an orientation, you can come in anytime we're open and sit down and either use our computer or bring a laptop and research more funding for your organization.
Not just government sources?
It is not, specifically, it's not government sources. It's just private giving. So the idea about that is that a lot of us always go to the same pot for our money. We go to the local foundations. We all know who they are. We're great partners with them. But there are foundations all over the country that may have similar interests, may have interest in your cause, in your program. So this gives you a chance to look at them, see what their mission is, see if they give in this area, and then proceed on to write a grant to them. So the same way you can reach me by email if you ever want to pursue that or get more information, just shoot me an email. In fact, anything today that you want more information on, please send me an email and I will send it to you. I like to say, oh, I'll send you that, but I may not remember who said that to me, so this way, just make yourself a note to send it to me. So before we begin, I just want to take a few minutes and ask you if you wouldn't mind going through and just telling us who you are, who you represent, and anything else you want to say. I'll start with the last one.
Okay, so I'm Jay Freer. I'm her financial assistant. She's Geneva Light Opera. And I'm also on the board with Sally of Geneva Music Festival, which is a chamber music festival.
And I'm Gina Regal. I'm the head of Geneva Light Opera.
I'm Denise Oster, and I'm for the Auburn Chamber Orchestra.
Christy Teles, I'm president of the board of Auburn Chamber Orchestra. We're in our 30th season. Pass these around, so you know what we're doing. We've had pretty good years.
Yeah.
I'm Kit Fallon, and I'm working with Finger Lakes Celtic Fest, which has been going for how long?
We just did 5th year.
I'm Katie Duran. I'm with the Partnership for Results. We do after-school programs and other youth programs.
And I'm Mary Kerner, also known as Mariah. I am the Vice President and Secretary of the Finger Lakes Celtic Society, which is just the 501c3 that puts on the Finger Lakes Celtic Festival every year. And I have property here too.
All right, yes. I should have thrown that in the email. Just bring your stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm Sue Muldoon. I'm with the Harriet Tubman Boosters.
Cool.
I'm Sally Webster. I'm on the board along with Jay of the Geneva Music Festival, and we are in our 7th year, and we also play concerts in Auburn.
Yes, you do.
Yes, at Royal Chapel, which is glorious, and sometimes churches. This last June we were in the Westminster Presbyterian Church, and then we extend ourselves east to St. Albans and Geneva, and then west to Canandaigua. So we call ourselves the 20 corridor.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Jennifer Mitchell. I'm the president of the Geneva Theater Guild. We are approaching our 40th year in Geneva.
great for your ages, really. Thank you. I do want to say that I'm looking forward to auditing. I came into this and didn't have the opportunity to attend a lot of these events. I'm so excited now that I know what's going on and I have it on my calendars. So I've been out to all the other counties and met a lot of folks. So this is an opportunity for me to kind of get to know you, and then you can call me or email me with questions. If I don't have the answer, it's my first year through it, I will get the answer for you. So, and you may know more than I do in a lot of this, those of you who've been through this process. So feel free to speak up or give another idea as we go through this. So before we begin, any other questions or thoughts? I'll just jump right into it. So, well, I'll turn this thing on first. So this is about next year's grant cycle. Is anybody here primarily funded through NISCA itself, or get a chunk of funding through New York State Council on the Arts separate from decentralization? I didn't think you were looking at the list, but I did have a lady have to get up and leave like halfway, you know, it's like 5 slides down or whatever it is, and she's like, I have no idea. I said, well, you can't apply, so I lost her. But, so I'll get to that. We've already done that, so we're moving right along. So today we're going to cover general information. Those of you who are familiar with grant writing, you're not going to hear anything you've never heard before. Funding criteria for this particular grant, suggestions on completing the application, some information about budgets, and then we'll go over the panel scoring rubric. So at the end of this, there will be a panel that first looks at each application and makes comments, and then they come together for one day. Some of you are either on it or have been on a panel. Who's been on a panel for here or another region? You know how it goes. So, and at that point, we will really come together and look at these more closely, talk about awards, amounts, and that kind of thing. So we'll talk about what they're looking for. So, in a nutshell, again, this is the Decentralization Program for New York State Council on the Arts, which actually was the first statewide arts council established. In fact, NEA based their development of their program on this one. And so they were really starting this whole business that we're talking about today. The idea is getting money out into communities all over the state, and not just sending it to places where there's large urban centers or wealth, but really putting art in the hands of people and giving resources to artists and arts organizations. And also nonprofits that want to bring artists in and programs in. We have $89,000 to give out, and it's your money. It's there. It's already there. We're just waiting to see, you know, what you want. And these are the 5 counties: Cayuga, Seneca, Wayne, Yates, and Ontario. So I just mentioned it a little bit, bringing art to underserved communities and supporting emerging arts organizations and artists.
Is that appropriation very much from one year to the next?
This is, I believe this is the same as last year. And last year was an increase from previous years. But there has been a lot of change. So you'll see that this is very similar to last year. There's really only one significant change. So those of you who've been through this the last couple of years with Meg or Sarah, it's going to sound pretty similar. So this year, you can actually apply a limit of 3 proposals, but the total ask can't be more than $5,000. And all the programs, or all the projects and programs, have to happen between January 1st and December 31st of 2017. I think there was one more. Okay. So these are the options: the community arts grants, arts education, and individual artists, and I'll talk about a little bit about each of these. So the community arts is supported, enables emerging artists and organizations to grow professionally and enhance the cultural climate in communities and neighborhoods where they live and operate. And those of you who are doing this know that. You can feel it. You can see it in the audience. You can see it in the feedback you get. Must be community-based and open to the public. And again, the award range is $500 to $5,000. The deadline this year is a little later, obviously, it would have already passed if it was last year or the year before. I pushed it out a little bit, I hope that's okay, but it coincided with another deadline I had.
When it says be open to the public, does that mean you have to have free admissions to some of
No.
those?
It means that you have to, so, say you're having a concert in the middle of a downtown, so you want to make sure that you post notices about it in all your neighborhoods, not just in downtown or in your own neighborhood. And maybe you get funding to have a shuttle that morning to get folks from outer areas in, whether it's rural or urban centers that are far away. Maybe you can offer a reduced rate for your tickets, or children under 12 or free, whatever works out. So you're showing that you're doing outreach to areas that are underserved and might not otherwise be able to go. I just noticed, like, Wynton Marsalis was in Skaneateles, and I saw great pictures from our BTW, Booker T. Washington program that went, and it just looked like they were having so much fun. Did you go? I don't know. It was just, I didn't go. I forgot to get my tickets. I was going to go, and I had arranged it with friends. And then by the time I got online, they were gone.
They sold out really early.
Well, yeah. Well, my friends all got their tickets, and then I thought, oh my gosh, I got to do that. And so I stayed home.
Jen,
What?
you said January 1st to, what was the?
December 31st.
Oh, okay.
Calendar year 2017. So the deadline is Friday, October 14th, 2016. Next month. And there's a soft deadline, I'm calling it, it's October 7th. And that's just to send, if you want me to look at it. And what I can do is I can look at your proposal and just make sure there's nothing obvious that you are missing. So if you talk about something in your program narrative that looks like it should cost something, I'll look and see if it's in your budget, and if it's missing, I might send you an email and say, how are you doing that? And you might say, oh, so-and-so is donating it. And I'll say, well, put it in kind so that we can see that kind of thing. So my job is to help make sure you have any information that you need, and if you want me to take a look at it before the firm deadline, get it to me by the 7th. Unfortunately, I learned that we use Submittable, we'll talk about that in a little while, which is an online mechanism. And I've heard most people say it's a lot easier. The downside is if you want to set it up and you're still in draft, you don't, until you hit the send button, it's all yours. We were trying to figure out a way for you to send that to me as in draft form, and there is no way. So I guess you have to like cut and paste it or whatever. I've gotten a few drafts, so I know there's a way to do it. They're just Word documents, so it's just people are highlighting it, saving it, sticking it on a document. So get that to me by the 7th if you want me to look at it, or if you submit it and we're not at the deadline yet and you say, oh my gosh, would you mind taking a look at that and making sure the attachment came through? I'm going to look at them anyway, just to kind of eyeball them, but I'll look at it. So just make sure you let me know. I do get a notice when you hit the submit button, but still if there's something 3 days later and we're way before October 14th, and you say, did you look at this? I just feel like I missed it. I'll look at it. Grant requests may not exceed 75% of the total cost. So you have to get some other resource involved, valued at least 25%. And it can be cash, it can be ticket sales you anticipate, it can be the value of a rental. So something worth at least 25% of your ask should be from other sources for the total cost of the program. And the little thing down there in the corner, the funding priorities, it sort of reinforces the same things we've been talking about. Priorities are the activities of local arts organizations, emerging organizations, or organizations that really haven't applied for this funding, so maybe they haven't had the exposure they could have had. Projects that reflect diverse cultural expressions, and that means something a little bit different in every community. And applicants that promote their project to underserved communities. I'll talk a little bit about that. So this is the part that's different this year, that they're sort of opening it up and making a new opportunity. And the target audiences are seniors, or whatever they're calling us, Well, I've seen it every different way, like mature. I know a lot of seniors that are not mature, so. And youth. And so, again, if you want to pursue it, go for it. We'll figure it out as we go. What I'm hearing is if you're not exactly sure, go do the traditional community arts. So, same thing, award range, 500 to 5,000, same deadline. Grant request may not exceed 75%, and letter of support from school or community partner or fiscal sponsor. Yes, you know, that makes me question. Later on we'll go through that because I have actually the guidelines with me here. We'll take a look at. Same funding priority really that reflects diverse cultural traditions and contemporary creative expression. Individual artist is unchanged. The individual artist is a award of $2,500. No more, no less. You get it or you don't get it. And grant deadline is the same. So an essential element of funding is the inclusion of community involvement, interaction, feedback, projects. So if you're working as an individual artist, you're going to have a showing, you're going to have a performance, you're going to reach out to the other people. Maybe you get some feedback from them somehow, right in that setting, or however you want to do it. But they're interested in knowing that you're sharing with the community. That's the thing with that one. So that hasn't changed in the last few years.
Are there just specific guidelines about what they consider an artist?
Well, what they consider an artist. So that's interesting because there are specific things that they say in the guidelines that they will not fund, and that's in that sheet that has a lot of text in it. A lot of this really, when you submit your proposal, you're putting it before a panel. And the panel is comprised of a combination of people that should represent the culture and arts of your community. In this case, 5 counties. Within that are artists. And what I try to do is look at it, make sure we have visual, you know, an array of artists, but there's also community, people that are very involved in the community may not be artists, because you kind of need your audience, you need people to buy your work, to attend it. So within that group, on the day that the panel meets, or maybe through, you know, conversations before online, they may tackle that. You know, and they may say ultimately, you know, I don't know if this would be considered art in where I lived in Nevada, but I think here in our community it would be. So it's sort of a, you know, it's sort of a reflection of the culture of the panel, and also make sure it can't be in that list of, I think, what's the one, Balloon Man? There's somebody in there that...
It used to be magicians, aren't it?
Magicians. That might still be in there. I mean, yeah.
But if we had a musician write an original composition, would that be considered?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it would be, no, I don't know what. I can't even think of an example of something that is really controversial except the balloon artist. I guess if the balloon artist was teaching me how to do it and talked about the history of balloon art and, you know, I don't know. But that was the one that they mentioned. So funding criteria, nonprofit organization or individual nonprofit fiscal sponsor. You can't already be receiving NISCA funding, and this is the slide where the woman raised her hand and said, what? And then she'd driven like 45 minutes, felt so bad. But it is on the website, but she just had missed it too. So project-based grants, no capital improvements, it's pretty straightforward. We can't fix a roof or hire somebody for you. Be party. And then we do have guidelines for more information. So application dues, read the guidelines of the application thoroughly and ask if you have any questions. And as I said, if I don't have the answer, I will find someone that does have the answer. The organization I'm working with is very helpful and willing to engage and talk about, you know, maybe somebody else has had a similar situation in their region of the state. create and save your work offline. This is the tricky part about doing things online. And Submitable's friendlier than some of the ones I've seen, but it's just a good idea. It's a good idea to do it. And maybe next year you'll be really glad you saved this one.
I had an experience doing this of actually writing the narrative in Word.
Yeah.
So that's where I was fiddling with it and sharing it with other people for their edits. And then I would cut and paste and put it on. Does it work like that?
That's what I would do, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I did with a capacity building grant for the Rochester Community Foundation. And it worked well because I'm also a horrible typist.
That's
Right, so making a lot of mistakes on.
So based on that and the fact that this is all done online now, is there like a hard copy that we can use as?
Once it's submitted, you can, there's a thing on the top you can click on, and it'll save it as a something or other,
Okay.
and then you can print that out.
Oh, okay.
But see, that's what I hoped
Have
happened
access to it
before,
ahead of
but,
time, we have all the information ready.
right, so once it's submitted, you'll have that. The other thing is if you find that some of you may, that you're running out of, you just have more to say than those number of spaces, just let me know. Because I can change that. I'm just doing what Meg did, but we can make it bigger. There's no rule that says the narrative has to be a certain number of words. So I think it's helpful for me if somebody tells me 300 words, 500 words. You don't need to tell your story in more than that. But it may be you need it because of whatever it is, whatever you want to talk about. Be clear and concise. Answer every question with care. If you write it quickly or sloppily, that's how the panel will perceive it, and it's just pretty basic. Even if a question feels redundant, answer it fully. Don't say, as I previously stated, card. Okay, this is called using somebody else's line and not reading my own work, because I've noticed that before. But basically, there are some questions that will be similar, but they're for different reasons they're being asked. And have someone else outside your organization check it. I can check it, but somebody that hasn't been working on it with you, but that knows what you're doing. They will get it. They'll see. And think about when you're reading it. Pretend you're on the panel. Pretend you're on the panel and you're the mayor of a town and you're not an artist. But you have a son-in-law that's a great artist and you really are into it when it's supported. You think you know stuff. So think about being that person and like, yeah, this kind of makes sense. Yeah, I like this. And that's it. You wanted the panel to want to go there. I mean, when I was on the panel, when I knew I wanted to go to the thing, you knew it was like a good, and you'd fight for it. This is so cool. There's nothing else in that county there's nobody else doing this. They say it right there in their narrative. It's got to be true if you say it, but. And more. Think about, that's brilliant. Narrative means words. Budget narrative cannot be an Excel file. Explain in detail each expense and income line. And it's pretty straightforward. If you don't like to work under pressure, here's an idea. Do it early. So obvious. I would never be able to do it early because I would always feel like there was one more thing I wanted to put in there. But I love people that can do it early. It's really polite. I am finding, I really like it when people do things early, but I myself am terrible at this. But yeah, this is so obvious, but it's there. So if you want to do it early, give yourself they say to do it a week early and then put it in a drawer, or just set it aside, don't turn on your computer, and then come back and look at it a few days after that, and then it still makes sense. Try to make the draft deadline of October 7th so we can review it prior to the hard deadline, because I may not have a chance to get to it after that. So, I mean, obviously, if you're freaking out on the 13th, call me. But oh no, I won't be. Actually, call me on the 12th. I should say I'm not going to be here on the 13th because I'm going to be on a bus tour of the county. So, on the 12th, I will be here, or the evening of the 13th. So, this is actually just a screenshot of the page. This is, happens to be the community arts grants. Again, I'm using the same website that Meg used, that was developed through Auburn Public Theater. And by way of explanation, also, this can be a little confusing. I'm doing this through a contract with Auburn Public Theater, which those of you who've been here before know it's right up the street. It's a 60-second walk from my front door. And I know Carrie and the staff there, and we work very closely together, but I'm employed here, but I'm doing the grant proposal for them. So I didn't really change it up a lot this year. So when you go on the website, like on the FLCAG website, up here it says guidelines and applications, and then you click on that and it takes you down here, and this is where you begin the process of starting your application. I think there might be something below. You can get the whole thing. And everything we're talking about here today, these are right on here to look at. So the budget, we give you what we want you to fill out and give back to us, which I hear is very helpful from previous ways we did it. So it actually does the calculation for you. Still check it, but it really will do the adding for you. And you can see on that, let me see if I can give myself one, that they want that money for the artist fees. And that's really what we want, is for you to pay your artists. So, any thoughts on that? It makes sense. It's just answering the questions, thinking about the panel that's looking at this, and how can you make the case that this is really important. It's a good, because you're going to be the panel. I'm not on the panel. Those of you who haven't been through this or haven't been on a panel, my job is to be sort of a technical resource, but I don't say anything during the panel deliberations unless it's to help with technical stuff. Like, if I knew what you meant and whatever, I can, they can say, well, what exactly is this about? I can interpret that, but I can't weigh in. And the other thing is, if you're on a panel, you can be on a panel even if you have a submission. You just have to leave the room when they're talking about you, if we remember to tell you that. But no, we do that ahead of time. We know people that have to leave and come back when we're talking about the proposal.
Other grants, we'll be applying for other grants, but we won't know by October.
Well, you can put ones that you're pretty sure you're going to do. I mean, you don't want to be pie in the sky, but you probably will have some sense. Yeah, you put them in. Yes. And you could put in your narrative for your budget anticipated funding from XYZ Foundation or so-and-so bank. I'm just guessing. Banks are great places to go. So let's see here. So a couple of words on the budget. It must balance zero. It's pretty straightforward. And we want you to make money. So we want you to ask for an admission fee. You can do scholarships or reduced rates for seniors, or provide transportation. However you want to do that, to reach out to underserved communities. But the point is that you want to bring income into, pay your people, so they come back and do a great job again. So NISCA wants to see what incomes cover the cost of this project. We just talked about that. And does this feel kind of like your typical grant? I mean, those of you who do grant proposals for other things, it's not that different. I mean, it's with the state, so I have to keep every single document for 7 years or whatever, and label it and make sure if they audit. And the person does come from town to town and checks on me, so that's a good thing. And we already looked at that. It's the budget form. This is one not filled out. There's some notes up there in case, just reminders while you're working on it, the things that we talked about. So you can just kind of look up there if you wondered. Matching funds are cash or in-kind donated goods and services which your organization is providing or acquiring for the project. You are encouraged but not required to include cash in your matching funds. So you can put in-kind here. Somebody gives you, loans you equipment or something. You can put in there. And you can buy materials that you need that are, what's the word? Not disposable. You're going to use them up.
Supplies?
Thank you. Well, supplies that you're going to use up for your program. You can't buy a new camera unless the camera's going to self-destruct at the end of the program, I guess. So it's not to buy brand new equipment or anything like that, but yes, things you need to execute your program or your class.
You could use the money to build scenery for a theatrical thing.
Yeah, for that program, yes, absolutely. Yep. So on to the panel criteria. I've given you a copy of this, which is, I think they really wrote every possible word in here they could, but the bottom line, really, what this talks about is the panel is going to go through a brief orientation. A lot of them are returned. You can serve on the panel 3 years and then you take a year off. So we do have some new people each year. They are going to be told that this is really what they are looking for. First of all, they want to represent the culture of this 5-county area or their county if they're from Yates or Wayne or Cayuga. Service to the public. So they want to look for a broad array of cultural activities. And so ideally we want to give out every penny of this, and we want to have it be music and painting and maybe not balloon art, but just storytelling and videography, all kinds of ways that we interpret the world through art. I've never seen it where every single proposal was music, but maybe that would tell us next year we have to go out and make sure we attract other people that represent other areas and vice versa. So free and low cost venues that we talked about before. Artistic programming, and this is where you're really looking for something that just isn't a spontaneous, hey, this is a way to get some money. Let's get those old socks that we had and we'll make puppets, and not that puppetry is not art. I think that might be the one. Might have been something to do with puppetry that they mentioned one time that was iffy. But, so I don't mean to mention that as not being art, but they want to know this is real art, that you have a concept, that you, let's see, let me take it right from here. NISCA believes in artistic excellence without boundaries, which is great. And its evaluation process embraces the widest variety of cultural and artistic expression being offered to the public in a broad array of settings and contexts, classrooms, community centers, parks, open spaces, and traditional venues. And they consider 4 dimensions: idea, the concept or artistic impetus behind the artistic work or services proposed. So it'd be great to have a new proposer. Practice, the effectiveness of the artistic work and the impact it has on those experiencing it. In the case of services, the effectiveness of services in practice and their impact on the community served. Again, look at your audiences or your students and look through their eyes and see how much they're experiencing getting from this and how much richer they're becoming through this experience. And context in which the work or services being presented are appropriate. That's a lot of words, but it just means, you want people to be comfortable, you want to have the resources you need, you want to be in a place where people can access it, and it sort of complements or reflects what you're trying to do. So,
You mentioned videographers as an artist. Would you or would they consider like lighting designers, sound designers, technical designers, artists?
you mean to be,
Because I'll be honest, here's the issue that, I don't know about anything else in Geneva, but we have a big issue finding technical staff and technical artists because we don't have a lot of people that are trained in lighting design, sound design. So every year for us, it's a scramble to find people who, know how to run this up at the Smith or do lighting design. So we wanted to partner with some other theater groups and maybe some other organizations to bring in like the professional lighting designers, let's say from the college, to run a series of lighting design work, not necessarily, I mean, obviously you have to learn how to run the light board, but
Right.
some like design elements of lighting, like technical design art. We
Would it be a
consider them
specific
artists,
project?
because not everybody can do that, but I don't know if.
Well, to
they're
go back
considered-
to the, so we go back to the mission of this, you know, the mission is really to bring art. So, I mean, in the broadest sense, I could see maybe that being in there, but if the mission behind this is to bring artists and arts programming to an underserved community, I don't know if that would fit it. I'd be happy to send that on for, you know, I don't have to say who you are. It's all, like, I have a person who. So, if you want to send that to me in an email, I'd be happy to pass it along for information.
Why couldn't you do that in conjunction with a particular public theater presentation?
Right, like, I mean, we could do something like at the community center, you know, that we're
Right,
doing actually designing lighting.
We should put our heads together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, the idea is really to get money into the artists and performers' hands primarily. So hopefully, using this funding to pay the artists would mean you wouldn't have to find funding to pay the artists, so then you could, I mean, pay them, so.
We can't present the art if we don't have the technical people.
Yeah,
That's
send me an email and I'll get some clarification, that's a good question. Others?
So should that fall under the arts education part?
I don't know.
Because you're teaching them, we would be teaching
Yeah.
them to do something.
I mean, we
that's
could do it
part
at
of
the
it.
community center where they have a black
But see,
box
it's
theater and
different.
use the-
If you were to say to me, we're teaching them how to use lighting to create art, that then we'd have a show here and you guys would be blown away by these artists, it's different. You're creating something that is critical and needs to be there to support the artist, but it's not in and of itself to create a body of work. So, still send it to them. Because, you know, maybe they'll talk among themselves and say, oh, this is an area that we really haven't been resourcing.
Because they are art, I mean, you look at some of the things they do, they're certain artists.
My doctor's an artist though, because of what he's done.
Right.
No, but I mean, you're right. I get it. I do get it. I'm being a little facetious, but no, I agree. It's a good conversation to have. So then the final one is pretty straightforward. It's managerial and fiscal competence. Recipient is good steward of these public funds, and the organization is capable of carrying out the proposal ethically and effectively. And so that is really saying that this is your money, which I said at the beginning, but it's really not your money, it's the state's money. So they're saying, we're giving you our money, but it's still our money, and we want to make sure you're going to do awesome things with it. So, you know, it's just making sure you've got a real board, and pay your bills, and pay your people. If there's anything, you know, organizational management, does your board advance its mission? Do you engage in adequate fundraising for the organization? Is it a governing board? Do you have a mission, and does that match what you're doing? So, I'm not going to read all that, it's pretty straightforward, so.
If you turn out to have a profit at the end of the season, does that mean that they're going to be, and they want to find out about it and say, well, we over-supported you, you should give some money back?
I mean, if you are incredibly wealthy as a result of what you're doing, then you could let me know, but, no, I mean, really, come on.
Okay.
Because so that's a lot, I really don't like the term nonprofit. That's really goofy. It's not that you can't make money, it's that the money you make should go back into your program and enrich it. Or maybe pay your artists more, or have a better, you know, fix your acoustics, pay your lighting designer. You know, so, yeah, you can make money. You just, maybe you can offer another program next year, or have somebody come from Europe, you know, that you've been wanting for years and finally can afford it, so.
Or ticket sales were far exceeding. your
Oh,
expectations,
yes.
Right? Or you got another big grant that you didn't expect.
Yeah, it's
So-
just, it's like, yes, Christmas.
But trying to do the budget narrative and that's not going to change either up or down. It's just your best work at the time that you're submitting.
Exactly, yes. And you know, the thing, it's interesting because the panel does look at all of these proposals and looks at the budget. And so one of the charges of the panel is to make sure they're supporting emerging artists or emerging arts organizations. So it might get a little tricky if they see a well-established, well-run, really great program. Maybe they have season tickets to your program. They're like, do we support this program that's kind of new and includes this new population that has been underserved? And I don't think we get to that point, but it's just things to think about. Yes, but I mean, the healthier the program, I think the better it is financially. So, yeah, just put it back in. Any other questions before I move on? Oh, look what I could have been doing. Wow. That's very cute. Huh. Well, we already said I'm not going to go through it again. Oh my gosh. How do I get out?
You have a gremlin in your program.
Oh my gosh, okay. Okay, and this is how the panel scoring goes. So, on the back page, and the way it's set up, well, this is my first time, so we'll see how this really works. Does it sound familiar to when you did it before?
This is I like it.
Do you think it's harder?
Well, no, it's just that I don't recall getting as much information back in the day.
Oh, well, that's technology.
Right.
So, well, good, I guess. They're doing a better job at getting us information. So the panel is going to look at these criteria that we talked about. Service to the public, artistic or programmatic excellence, and managerial fiscal competence. And they're going to give it a score, 1 being poor and 9 being exceptional. So each of those 3 criteria is going to get some score. The only thing that's important to know really is that if you get below a 3 in any of those 3 criteria, your proposal will not move forward. I mean, you can get 9, 9, and 1, and then it won't move forward. Have I seen that? I don't know, because I wasn't in this job before. But that's basically how it goes, but I think it's it would be hard to get a 1, I think. This group, you're all going to get 9s. But I mean, it's really going to be hard to get a 1.
If you don't
If you
get,
ignore a complete area and don't.
if you don't get funding, are you told why?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know, now, excuse me, I don't know if it's part of the message, but I know that information. We have a note taker at the panel, and the note taker is just someone that is not involved at all, somebody from the community that they pay to come in and take the notes. That person can look back on the notes and access why something didn't get passed or whatever. So, and people want to know how they can improve their proposal next time. So even if you do get funded, even if you get every penny, I'd still want somebody to say, that was a really great proposal. We really liked you did this, this, and this. I would want to know that. So I'd like to have you get the feedback, whether you want it or not, just because it's good to hear. So, yes.
So is there a defined boundary line when you might get kicked out of FLCAG and say you should only submit to NISCA?
It's up to, so some organizations go right to NISCA. Auburn Public Theater here, I think Schweinfurt Museum does, Cayuga Museum. Yes.
Isn't there criteria, I mean, maybe they changed it, as if you've been doing something a number of years at a certain scale, then you can go to NISCA. I did a program for 7 years, and then I was going to apply directly to NISCA.
But what was the mechanism that made you decide that? Did you check, did you say I should check into this, or did somebody?
It was something I came up with myself because I wanted to get out of the under 3,500, which
right.
was at the time.
Right.
And I wanted to ask for $10,000 to run a program.
That's probably when you asked that's probably when you go to NISCA is when you realize I need more. Now, the benefit of this, if you're not needing more than 5,000 or 3,500, is that this is a lot easier than, so if you go directly to NISCA now, you're part of the CFA, the Consolidated Funding Application, and you apply through the Red C, the Regional Economic Development Council calendar, which is annual. Now, I know it's easier, the reason they developed all that is so that everybody in the state basically would be filling out a similar application, whether you're dairy, you know, human services, arts. So for the big money, you go through that, and it's just more involved. It's fine, but this is kind of easier than going through that. But yeah, so problem is once you get, problem in Auburn is that the people, the organizations that get NISCA, that prevents them from being able to be a fiscal sponsor for people that want to get decentralization funds. So it's just tricky.
Are letters of support any part of this process?
Yes, you can submit them. And it says right in you, yes, you can submit them. They'll be, yeah, and there's a way to attach. I'm really impressed with, I can't take any credit for the submittable, but Meg Clary, who's, you know, who did it, did a great job, I have to say. So it should be, and they tell you exactly what kind of format they need and how to upload it, and so far it's been smooth. I've got some proposals in and no problems at all, so.